And we are back. Halftime of game 2, the semifinal at the Sugar Bowl. We told you, as many of you already knew, hey, these two games were going to be decidedly different types of games, styles of games, and that would be result in a scoring differential that would be quite different. Michigan and Bama scored 23 points at halftime. Washington and Texas, 42 points at halftime. So there we go. We're all knotted up at 21. They just played 2 hours of football for nothing because we've got a tie score. Washington has been leading, tied is what it is. They stopped Texas on the first drive. Then the Huskies got it going with a long touchdown drive. I actually missed almost the entire first quarter because we were doing the Michigan Bama post, but then caught up with it to see again that back and forth ensue, and Texas coming up with a huge touchdown at the end of the first half to knot it at 21. Let's hear what all of you have to say as the Longhorns and the Huskies battle it out to see who can outscore whom and face Michigan for the national championship in Houston. All right. Appreciate you all being here. And we will be back after the game as well with Matthew Miller to break down Texas and Washington. Take your calls. Of course, we're going to continue to talk Michigan, Bama as well. And shoot, we'll talk about anything on the day in college football after the ball games tonight, including Iowa got shut out again by a good team. The 3 best teams on Iowa's schedule shut them out. Wisconsin taking a couple 2-score leads against LSU, but losing in the final minute, 35-31, even though Tanner Mordecai lit it up. And then, of course, Oregon had the cakewalk layup of the day in facing a Liberty team that should not have been playing in the New Year's Six, winning 45-6. Mike's here. Hey, Mark. We beat an SEC team. Can you believe it? Well, I can believe it. It doesn't surprise me. I did pick Alabama, but I said it was pretty much 50-50, 55-45. I was in that range, similar to what I was my odds of Texas beating Washington. I went 55-45. No SEC teams in the Natty this season. How about that? How about that? When is the last time that's happened? That has not happened. That didn't hit me until just now. Thank you for that, Mike. So we've had, and this will be the final 4-team playoff. This is the end of an era of the, let's be accurate about this. I keep trying to correct myself because I'm not saying I was the guy that coined this phrase, but I certainly don't know of anybody else who said it first, that when this 4-team playoff was announced back in 2013, well, it's an invitational. It's not a playoff. It's an invitational. Those are 2 separate things. It's an invitational. And during the 10 years of this invitational, you nailed it, Mike. The SEC has played in every one except for the first one, Ohio State and Oregon. And now we're going to have Michigan against either Texas or Washington. Of course, Texas will be in the SEC next season. So if Texas makes the national championship game, that is almost a good thing for the SEC to continue its legacy of saying, hey, it would be a good thing for the Big 12 to say, well, we finally won a national championship, finally got a team to the national championship game, but they're leaving. Mike says Michigan has the best defense in the country. I would not argue with that after what I saw today against that team. Again, all due credit to Michigan. Michigan, right now, I'm not making a prediction on the national championship game yet, but I certainly was thinking going into this game, these pairs of games today, that the winner of the Michigan-Alabama game would be my selection, most likely. Texas Buckeye. Good to see you here. A Schraub And to all Michigan fans, congratulations. You are probably the largest fan base represented here at the Voice of College Football. So I've got to say congratulations, of course. And that was a remarkable football game, a remarkable effort. Congratulations to Alabama. I know that this doesn't meet their standard. They expect nothing but national championships, but wow, 21, 22, 23, 3 consecutive seasons without an Alabama national championship. That's crazy that is a drought for Bama. Not getting to the national championship game since 2021, way back in 2021, but that's the Bama standard. And yeah, as they're stating right now on the ESPN broadcast showing largest fourth quarter comeback wins under Jim Harbaugh, there just haven't been any. This one touchdown deficit is the largest. It is tied for the largest comeback win ever for Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. Yeah, Michael Penix, Texas Buckeye, tearing it up right now. He is at 255 yards passing, 11 of 14 with a touchdown. He's most likely the best deep ball thrower in college football. He had that throw to Rome Odunze, and that didn't even wind up as being a touchdown drive because Byron Murphy blew up the Dylan Johnson run on 4th and 2 inside the 15-yard line. So Texas got the stop there. But Michael Penix, yes, 11 of 14 for 255 and just throws a beautiful pass. He did miss a throw to Devin Culp, the tight end, and one of the faster tight ends you'll see in college football, to the corner when he had a couple steps on his defender. But right after that, boom, Penix throws the laser to Polk, who caught it off the deflection when Jabbar Muhammad could not make the deflection. And so after that 4th and 1 conversion, which Washington is supposed to have the best offensive line in college football, I don't know that they do, but they won the Joe Moore Award this year, and they have had several short yardage situations here against Texas. They have succeeded on some. They got blown up on others. Dylan Johnson, 13 carries, 30 yards, and 2 touchdowns for Washington. Tybo Rogers also has a 17-yard run for the Huskies. Jalen Polk had that touchdown reception I told you about, plus the 77-yarder. 2 for 106 for him. Rome Odunze, 4 catches, 84 yards, including that 52-yarder. Jeremy Bernard, the former Michigan State wide receiver, unfortunately, in addition to a 29-yard catch, also had a muffed punt in the inside the 10 or 15-yard line that led to a Texas touchdown and pretty much handed Texas its second touchdown. So that was a big play in the ball game. That was probably the biggest turnover in the game. Dylan Johnson has caught 2 passes on the Texas side. Quinn Ewers, the stats sheet says just 9 of 18 for 97 yards, but he has thrown the ball better than that. He had a beautiful pass to Jaden Blue on the final drive that, fortunately for Texas, did not come back to haunt them, but Ewers put it right on his hand from about 40 yards away and blew the catch. Didn't haul it in down the right sideline, but then Ewers scampered for the first down a couple plays later on a 3rd and long, and there was a late hit that got them close. C.J. Baxter scored his, I guess I thought it was his second touchdown. It was his first. C.J. Baxter, the former 5-star, 7 carries for 53 yards. And Ewers had to scramble a few times, including the big 21-yarder on the final touchdown drive. Baxter had a 31-yard play. Jordan Whittington, we haven't seen a whole lot out of Xavier Worthy, 1 catch for 7 yards. Or Jatavian Sanders has 3 catches for 19 yards, including a 14-yarder. So you would have to think that he's got to get his game together, and they got to start to find him. Oh, we got some super chats and some other notifications going down. We've got Will Og. Og, the muff punt. He's playing well, hopefully. Uh, Go 2 for 2, Kenny playing great. Joey, good to see you, buddy. I think Texas will take control in the fourth. John, if you did not see the post-game show for Michigan Bama, check it out with John. It's posted right here on the main channel. It's also over on the Michigan channel. And I'm sure there will be much more to celebrate. I got to imagine that the celebration will just not stop. So why not just continue it tomorrow on the Michigan Live Show at 8 p.m. Eastern Time? So Michigan fans, everybody else, head on over. Check out John's work on the Michigan channel. Wolverines Live is Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Yes, a big win for the Big Ten because the Big Ten, the record's not bad at 5-4, but the top teams in the conference were losing. Ohio State, Penn State. We've got Big Case Mike. Mark, I'm a Wolverine and a supporter of your show. Thank you, sir. Big Case Mike, appreciate that. What is the mood among the Ohio State faithful seeing Michigan have a glorious year, and what about Ryan Day? Well, the the mood around Ohio State camp has to be horrible. Really, there's only one good positive way to look at this as a Buckeye supporter would be that this makes Ohio State's loss in Ann Arbor look good. That Ohio State may have posted one of the best results of the season, losing to the national champion on the road in a game in which could have gone either way. So if you want to look at it, but that's the more logical way to look at it. That is the more measured way to look at it. That okay, Michigan, let's say they win the national championship, is the best team in college football, and Ohio State played them as well as anyone on the road. You could argue that the performance was even better than Bama since it was on the road. You can have that argument all day. Who played Michigan better, Bama or Ohio State? Toss it up. It doesn't matter. It's debatable. So that's the measured way to look at it. All the other narratives, all the other storylines, all the other angles are all negative on the Ohio State side. Your rival owns the Big Ten. They own you, and they now are one step away from owning college football, at least for 1 year. So that's nothing but a negative for Ohio State. Now, what's kind of interesting in this rivalry is that as Ohio State and Michigan have waged war, certainly during my lifetime, in the time that I've watched college football and watched this rivalry, and then also just prior to, which would have been at the height of Bo versus Woody in the 10-year war, I caught just the tail end of that. So I didn't really see the height of the 10-year war, but I'm well educated on it, have read up on it, watched everything conceivable on it and all the games involved. That at no time has there been, whether Ohio State was in control of the rivalry in the conference or Michigan was, there has been no other time in which the team that was not in control, the team that was being held back, which is, of course, Ohio State right now, is as good as Ohio State is. Usually when one of the two programs is up in the series and winning the games on the field, winning the Big Ten championships, being a factor on the national landscape, which has been Ohio State the last 20 years or so, Michigan the last 3 years, but Ohio State obviously has won a Rose Bowl and gone to the playoff last year, so they've also been on the national scene as well. We've never seen it transpire like it is right now, where Ohio State is really not falling off. It's not like it usually, for one team to ascend and suppress and crush and hold down the other one, that other one is typically an 8-4 type of team for that time period. That's how Michigan has been and again, I'm generalizing. Michigan's been 5-7 and 7-5, and I could recite all the records. But generally, they've been a 7 or 8 win program for the last 20 years in different variations, iterations. Again, they've been better than that. They've been a little worse than that. But they dropped. Ohio State stayed high. Michigan dropped. When Michigan was winning the games against Ohio State in the 90s, that was a strange time because for part of that time, late 80s, early 90s, Michigan was the superior program and Ohio State was down. Then Ohio State elevated and was arguably better than Michigan, but Michigan was winning on the last Saturday of November. This is the only time in which the team that is down, and I put that in parentheses, I put that in quotes, down, is still a top 5 type team. So it's a really strange place to be. They're still recruiting out of their minds. They just brought in the 3rd or 4th best recruiting class. They're loaded with talent. There are a lot of NFL decisions to be made that are going to prove crucial to their experience level, at least, maybe not talent level, but experience level going into next year. And there's a quarterback decision to be made. There's a quarterback decision to be made by one J.J. McCarthy as well. It's a strange time in the rivalry. All right, we got Mike here. Mike, thank you so much for the contribution as well. I'm a big college football fan, but even I did not realize how impressive Penix is. Should have watched more Pac-12. Well, we are all seeing the conclusion of the Pac-12. This may, in fact, we may be hitting another milestone and the final milestone of Pac-12 football. If Texas wins this game, this will be the final game ever played by a Pac-12 team. Final regular season game ever was a late night game in the Rose Bowl between Cal and UCLA. The final Pac-12 championship game, of course, was the Washington win over Oregon by 3 points. And then we have all the other finals and landmark conclusions to a historic conference that was the butt of a lot of jokes in the last 5 or 6 years, including a few from me, but has been an excellent conference the last 2 years. And ironically, at not necessarily its peak, but its recent peak, certainly. This is the best this conference has been in at least 15 to 20 years, that it will be no more. And if Washington's able to win this game, look at what we've got. We've got a future Big Ten matchup. We've got the old guard of the Big Ten, the original Big Ten member, Michigan, taking on one of the 4 new entries, Washington. So the Big Ten will be able to do one of these like, ha, 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 look at this. This is almost the best of both worlds, where the Big Ten is winning the national championship, and also the team that has made it all the way to the national championship game and is losing is also a new Big Ten entry. So the conference is obviously in a great position, as is the SEC. And this Final Four is a precursor, I believe, to what we are going to see going forward from these two conferences. And I've been saying that and backing that up with data. Lucio still believes that Oregon is better than Washington. You know what? The argument, the results are not on your side, but you have, when I say every right to have that opinion, people in this country, and hopefully it always stays this way, we have a right to have any opinion. I could have the opinion that Indiana is better than Michigan. That would be ridiculous, and there's no supporting evidence. You have supporting evidence. Even though there were 2 losses head to head, they were this close. And Oregon, outside of those 2 games, played a better season than Washington. So the results are on Washington's side, and that's all that counts. I came away from the Ohio State-Michigan game still believing that Ohio State is better than Michigan. But seeing what I've seen since then, I have come to the conclusion, like I did last year after the Ohio State-Michigan game, and people, I don't expect all of you to remember everything that comes out of my mouth, but I have been very wrongfully uh, blamed, and the narrative of what I have stated about those two teams in the aftermath of Michigan winning the last 3 years has been completely skewed. Um, and we'll get into that at a later date. But we're here to talk about Washington and Texas. Davey, uh, our condolences tonight. Davey, that was a good game. That was a great game. That was a classic. And it looked like Bama had it when they had the ball up four and were moving toward the end zone to possibly put it away, but they could only get the field goal. And we will see there's an investigation going on. And none of us know what the conclusion of that investigation is going to be. My general thought, if I would take it, is that the conclusion of this investigation is going to come uh, in the next 6 months to a year. And I believe that all the punishment that has been already submitted by the Big Ten and the NCAA, I think that there might be a few other things that come out and a few other things that lead to a complete decision and discipline. But I don't think that it's going to be much worse or any worse than what we already know and what's been concluded. I don't think that this win or this series of wins or this championship, if Michigan is to complete the mission and win the national championship, is going to be vacated or taken from them. I do not believe that's going to be the result of this. We have just kicked off the second half of Texas Washington. We will be here as soon as the game ends to take your calls right here at the Voice of College Football. Appreciate you all being here. Let me make sure I did not miss anything. All right, we're going to see you right after the game. Enjoy the game. It should be a phenomenal second half. You see Derek Williams Jr., who was calling for targeting in the Big 12 championship game. He's back out onto the field, so he's excited to be playing again. And just it highlights what needs to be done about targeting. The targeting discipline is not just, but that's an off-season target, or that's an off-season topic. And we've got Washington with the football, and we've got a tie game. It should be a heck of a second half. Michael Penix is back and ready to roll. He's already close to 300 yards passing. We will see it after the ball game.